Yeah, but usually then we're done.
No worries.
I have to go to the doctor's appointment to get my blood drawn and everything.
So you and I have been working together for not 10 months? 6 months?
April, May, June, July, August,
7 months. Okay, so can you describe kind of in like a minute your state when you came to the Minnesota clinic, right? And you came to the clinic thinking, I'm gonna, you're an accountant, so it was like the day after taxes were due, right? Literally the next day. You're like, okay, now I'm going to take care of this weight issue. You had been seeing a naturopath. Am I right?
Yeah, an integrative health physician.
And okay, and you had been doing that, and they basically cut out all gluten, all sugar, all dairy, all nuts, all grain, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, and how did that help you psychologically?
It really didn't help me psychologically. I thought it did. I thought, it was the answer to all of my issues, but I continued then to have more hormonal issues, and also my hair. I had alopecia, and my hair kept falling out, so that wasn't the answer. So, yeah.
Well, did it make your issues with food bigger?
Yeah, probably, definitely, because I was so paranoid then about eating just the right food and being so strict about what I was eating because this was bad or that was bad, and that could make my hair fall out, or,
so after a while, though,
very particular.
Yeah, do you see how that created this all or nothing relationship with food, to where if you didn't strictly follow that that little tiny system, like if you didn't stay in that tiny little box of food selection, you were just like, screw it, I'm going to eat what the hell I want? And that kind of remember how you'd be like, screw it, by the end of the day, you're just eating large quantities of food.
Right. I was still eating large quantities of my selected food, So I thought I was still okay because I was eating the right food,
Yeah, in a binge eating fashion. So by the time you came to the clinic, you were pretty in a state of pretty significant survival stress.
Yeah.
Right, and no one talked about that with your symptoms, hormonal symptoms, right? So you came to the clinic, and I'm like, clearly you're in fight or flight, and we have to deal with this first. So you worked with me for quite a bit before even trying to do the protocol. So here we are 7 months later. And would you say that you're pretty much fully recovered?
I would say mostly, yes. I just still have some little tweaky things to work on. But yeah, I would say my mindset, my thought processes are completely different. I still feel like there are a few things that I kind of find myself thinking, okay, no, this is wrong, don't think like that, But for the most part, I feel like my thought processes are healthier. I shouldn't say healthier, but
no, healthier is a good word for it. Like you should feel less anxiety, less panic, less paranoia. Like your decisions,
mentally healthier.
Yeah. Your decisions aren't backed by this paranoia around not being healthy anymore. You had a string, you had kind of orthorexic nature to this, which is that health righteousness. And you said earlier, I thought I was so healthy. And you realized how unhealthy that was.
Yeah, I never thought that whole thought process was unhealthy because I was being so physically healthy with food choices that I thought I was so health conscious, and I was like right at the top there, and finding some pride in that, and just today thinking, oh my gosh, I was so messed up.
It's just silly. It's just silly. It's just it's just juvenile. And don't you think we all kind of have to go through that at some point?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's interesting because now I can see, things that I would have, even you about this the other day about things I see on Facebook about certain, these extreme exercise things and things I would subscribe to. Mm-hmm. And I just think, wow, that's just not healthy. And I don't mean, I mean in the mind, just I think, gosh, I think that I think I'm getting this now,
Mm-hmm. Well, you could say that you were not healthy in your mind and you gravitated to solutions that ultimately did not help where you were unhealthy in the mind, right?
Right. I think I was looking for this physical wellness and not the overall mental and emotional wellness that would eventually bring the physical wellness. I was approaching it from the wrong direction.
I would agree. And now we're looking at this from like, okay, we were talking about exercise, right? Because before, exercise for you was about something very different, right?
Right.
And you, to a certain degree, just kicked the shit out of your body with a trainer and you forced yourself to do it. And there were some good things that came out of that. I'm not saying that that isn't necessarily, like, you understand it better. You know the body's ability better. The challenge with the body to me is sometimes part of getting to know the physicality of the body that you're in. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we were just talking to close this session up, and you're like, the last couple of sessions, we've discussed how to integrate exercise back into your life. And how do you do it when it's not about the way you look? It's not about even the concept of health, right? Even though we could say it really is about health because your body feels the urge. At this point, you've been so disenchanted with exercise. But you can get a sense now that your body is like, let's do something. Like it needs to be used. But how do you get yourself motivated to do it now that there's no major, huge carrot of someone's going to think I'm hot. I'm going to be super healthy. It's validating my health righteousness, right? That validation of health righteousness is a big carrot, right? Mm-hmm. Like, look at me. I'm so proving my health right now. Right. Super healthy. Let's take a picture of my abs. I'm going to take a picture of my arms. I'm super amazing, right?
Right. Right.
Anyways, whatever. If that motivates you, go for it. There's always like the moment you stop and you stop and then you're like, oh, I'm such a bad person. You know, there's that pride shame balance. But here we are, and you're like, I'm not working out, and I actually feel this urge. To me, it's like how do we motivate? How do you get motivated? And you were like, what were you saying just a second ago about like I just can't. I don't know. There's something about it. It's kind of like you're kind of like what? How did you describe it earlier?
About I feel like my body is wanting. I mean.
Yeah, but you're almost saying I don't want to do it out of just sheer fact of saying screw you.
Right.
How did you describe that? It's like being
I can't remember how it is.
It's like the kid that just says no, even though they're just trying to be.
Yeah, I know that I need. Actually, I know that I need to do this. Now I know I want to do this because I'm feeling it in my body that my body really is needing this and wanting it, and I'm just trying to get over the mental thing about having to do it. But it's as I create it in my mind that it's a different concept of, like connecting with my husband at that time, or just it's my de-stressor time, or it's my wanting to look forward to the time, not because it's a workout, but it could be, doing the sauna or a hot tub or Zumba or whatever it is, and getting to the point of, it's really the highlight of my day.
Yeah, well, that would be like taking your dog for a walk.
Right.
You know, our bodies have evolved not to sit all day and do accounting, right?
Right.
In fact, sitting isn't necessarily how the body evolved over thousands, tens of thousands of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies evolved to labor and forage and hunt and walk and climb hills and hide and climb trees and jump off of the tree and to do all those things. And the lack of movement because of the modern lifestyle that we have isn't necessarily matching our biology. So there's this mismatch of how the body's supposed to work and the bones are supposed to work and the musculature is supposed to work. So the actual awareness of that we live in bodies that were evolved to labor. So we need to create, and it doesn't take a ton, but environments where you get up, you sit down. It's like in terms of like posture. When you're sitting and doing accounting, it's as simple as like being able to take your computer and lift it up onto a table and stand there, and then going back down. And something like that can really change your spinal health. But even just saying, I'm going to go and take my body for a walk, like a dog, can improve your biology and create less of a mismatch. Okay, for example, I'm going to use myself for an example. I have had since childhood restless leg syndrome, which is kind of a phenomenon they don't really know a lot about. But I know for me, it feels like a nervous system problem. The nerves in my legs, specifically my femurs, and even in my elbows, sometimes my hands, it feels like I have to do something with them. And if I don't, they jerk. Okay. I've noticed those symptoms are more prevalent when I do not get enough activity, specifically fast twitch activity. So if I feel that nerve issue, walking doesn't get rid of it. Sprinting does. It's almost like I have to stimulate enough lactic acid to like stimulate the nerve endings to turn back that feedback into the brain. That's me. And keep in mind, I do have a degree in exercise physiology. So some of this is just knowledge and my own observation, my own body. So if I get that feeling, I sprint. I don't jog. I have to sprint. And it goes away. And I might not have the symptom again for a month or two. And if I get it back, if it's bad weather, I'll go to the gym. I'll get on a treadmill and put it at 9.0 or 10 miles an hour. Freaking sprint for 20 minutes. And it has nothing to do with me trying to be, healthy, the perception of health. I'm not trying to prove that I'm still in shape. I don't have anything other than I'm really hoping that this nerve problem calms down.
Sure.
Right? This is similar to what you're experiencing. It's like you're getting a sense that it's probably a nervous system sensory, a muscular, like we need to do something, otherwise it's going to atrophy. And you're having this aware problem of, well, if I don't try, what's going to give me the motivation to do it? And it can be as simple as you just need to do it. Because the body is telling you to. You just have to be willing to be told what to do, right?
Right.
What did I say to you? It's kind of
it's like
yeah, yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move. The sun is like, there we go. So I think too, for people who've in the past abused exercise and punished themselves or felt it was punishment, who used to just make it miserable because of their whole goal of losing weight, and they've paid for trainers to just make their life miserable and they're constantly sore. It can create a negative condition around it. So for example, as a personal trainer, I owned my own training business. I had trainers working for me. I used to have to wake up, and I did it for close to 14 years at 4:30 in the morning to start with clients at 5:30. Now that I'm retired, I've chosen to be done to do this for work now. How do you think I feel about waking up early?
You probably don't like it.
No.
home to it.
No, and I'm like, I would love to get up early because when I wrote Weight Loss Apocalypse, I kind of just transitioned from training into writing, and I would get up sometimes at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning because my head was going and I was writing. And I'm like, okay, what if I could do that to start writing again? I just am having a fit about it. Like, I just don't want to do it. Partly because I have that feeling of how hard it was for that period of time to have to wake up to such an early hour. It was literally painful. So I have to kind of like go, okay, well, that's not happening anymore. I'm not training anymore. This isn't because I have to do it because someone needs to work out at 5:30 in the morning. It's because I want to do it. So you have to reframe the reasoning and purpose around it. You know, it's like if you didn't have that past experience of getting the crap beat out of you from a trainer so you could lose weight and whatever, for whatever reason, would you still have these feelings about like for me, getting up early? Of course I wouldn't. I would just do it. In fact, I'd see more pleasure in it. I'd see that my day's getting started earlier. You know, for you in the fitness of it, you'd be like, oh, I just have more energy. And it really does improve my stress, the stress. It takes me out of that space and out of that mindset and kind of gives me like, oh, like kind of like this childish going to the park to fiddle around with a piece of equipment, right?
Right.
So I think being accepting and acknowledging that your history with exercise wasn't necessarily healthy and it was punishing, you can put that away now. You learned you'll never do that again, and you're not attracted to it anymore. You don't have to do it. But maybe you take and you give yourself a fresh start and realize that if you were to live the life that you really want, do you feel that activity would be a part of it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's where we're going to start. Let's just start with the basic activity that you know is your body really should have. It's giving you the feedback. It's telling you, that nerve anxiety that happens in the nerves may not be as bad as restless syndrome, and it may not take the same sprinting that my body needs, but there's some degree of communication it's giving you. And should it be honored? Not because you have to prove yourself, not because you have to, beat someone else, or you have to be better than others, or you have to do, it's really just saying, hey, this is an important part of the body's needs and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So honoring what your body is asking for.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily, the body is so responsive. It really doesn't need very much. It just needs you to every once in a while listen to it. And the positive reinforcement is there too. You could say as soon as you do what it says, the pleasure center of the brain is going to give you your reward. Yeah. There's a reward. It's just pleasure. And if it doesn't have ego attached, it doesn't take much.
Right.
If there's ego attached, it takes a lot of work because you have to prove yourself. You have to be better than others. You have to be superior.
And quantified.
Yeah, and then you need to take pictures and show everybody. Right?
I never did that, though.
Maybe that's what you need for inspiration. Post your pictures on Facebook so everybody can be like, oh my God, you're amazing. And then you'll be like, that's right. That's right. That's proof I'm amazing. You all noticed it.
Oh.
Hey, whatever floats your boat. Everybody's got to figure it out somehow. And if taking selfies of yourself, flexing your muscles and showing your stomach and showing, is, hey, go for it. Go for it. Who cares? In the end, as long as it's like, it gets you going. Let's start, right?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything you want to say to the listener?
Yeah, I think after, like, sort of killing myself, not literally, but, just trying to work out so hard that I have had sort of an apprehension or an aversion to starting back. And I do think that just my whole mindset, that's the hardest thing, that all of the physical things that we've done have been fairly easy. It's just the whole mindset and thought processes that are taking the time. And this one and the pre-quantifying my food are probably the hardest things that I'm trying to get over, because I think I'm there, and then I find something else. Oh, I guess I'm not all the way there. But I just, emotionally and mentally, I think these are the two hardest things. And I really want to, get beyond them and kind of figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm partway there, but I still know that I have a little bit of progress to go. But in taking these little steps and these changes, these little things that you say that tweak my thought process are very helpful. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I have to focus. So
yeah, and the process isn't painful anymore. At least it's not painful.
No.
There's no shame. There's no guilt. There's no. You just, that there's overall tweaking to how do you live in this body now, and how do you provide what it needs without, because you've been so brainwashed before. It's like for me, it's like leaving a cult religion. It's like, how do I give back if it's not for God's love? What if I just want to do it without that reward? You have to it's almost like reorientate. You have to reorient yourself around some of these behaviors that before were really ego driven, self-proving and survival driven. It's like, well, now I don't have to do it. So then why would I do it? You really have to kind of redefine those activities, especially since they are part of our biology. Activity is part of our biology. How do you take someone that, like myself, abused exercise to such a degree that I have permanent spinal issues, right? And arthritis. Now, how do I do activity? And what does it mean to me? And what am I getting out of moving this body? And
one thing that I know is that, like we chatted before, that I'm not thinking it. Now that I'm not exercising, I'm not beating myself up every day saying, you're going to get fat, you better do it, you have to, you're going to, it's different thought. It's like, I can feel like my mind really wants to do something. I feel like I'm just being kind of lazy here. So,
or you're kind of having like, I'm not going to do it, but partly because there's probably that feeling of, if I'm going to do it, you just have to remember, you're not going to do it the way you've done in the past. You're not going to do it anymore.
Right.
Not going to do it.
I do think that thought process is better than it had been, because it was so negative before, and like you said, so ego driven. Now it's like, I know, I'm smart enough to know that I need to do this because I want to be active, but there's still maybe that apprehension of, I'm going to hurt myself kind of.
Yes. Yeah. Like for me, if I had to run, at 8.0, 9.0, 10.0 on a treadmill for an hour, I would never do it. But the fact that I don't have to do it for that long to have the same physical response to my, nervous system, it makes it so it's realistic. When I go into that sprinting, which is random, I don't go into it thinking I have to do this much and burn this many calories and I'm going to go. To me, it's like I'm going to go until I feel like I've really agitated my nervous system. So it could be 10 minutes, it could be 20 minutes. Right? I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm not trying to sit there and say I'm going to feel better once I do an hour, which I've done in the past. Right? And that caused a lot of problems because you are not listening to your body. You're listening to this need to be something bigger and better in your head. Right? Anyways, great conversation. All right, I'm going to stop recording and let's schedule again.